صباح الخير أصدقائي الأعزاء. اسمي دكتور واديم زايتشكов وأنا أرحب بكم من مركز ثقافي روسي في بيروت. كل سنة في ربيع طلاب أساتذة من مدارس في جميع أنحاء العالم بيفكروا عن التعليم في جامعات ودول مختلفة. بيفكروا كيف ممكن يختاروا جامعة، كيف ممكن يختاروا اختصاص. فعدد كثير من الشباب والصبايا في الشرق الأوسط يشاركون في اختيار تنافسي في لحصول على منحة للدراسة في روسيا على حساب حكومة روسية. فاليوم نحن نحب نتحدث معكم عن الاختصاصات التي سوف تكون مطلوبة، ليست فقط اليوم مطلوبة في سوق العمل، ولكن بعد ال5 سنوات عندما أنتم تعملوا تخرج، وكمان بعد 20-50 سنة هذا الاختصاص يكون مطلوب في سوق العالم عمل. فاليوم نحن نحب نبحث معكم تعليم نووي أو تعليم ذري. في عام الماضي في عام 2020 احتفلت روسيا مرور 75 عاما على صناعة نووية. يعني بداية من عام 1945 صارت عندنا في الاتحاد السوفيتي في روسيا سلاح نووي. فبعدين كمان هذا الصناعة أعطت إنتاج كهرباء لروسيا ولعدد كثير من الدول المختلفة. وفي نفس الوقت تعليم أو علم نووي كان بيطور علوم وتكنولوجيات جديدة. طبعا خلال فترة طويلة تعليم نووي أو علم نووي كانت موضوع سرية ولم يتحدثوا عنها في تلفزيون في راديو. فعدد كتير من الناس من الطلاب ما بيفكروا عن الإنجازات اللي موجودة اليوم، عن التكنولوجيات جديدة متطورة، مثلا أجهزة طبية أو أجهزة أمنية أو يعني تكنولوجيات جديدة في الزراعة. هذا الكل إنتاج لعلم نووي. فاليوم تعليم نووي في روسيا يعتبر من أحسن في العالم. فمهم حكومة روسيا سمحت لطلاب أجانب تعليم في روسيا بتخصصات نووية، وهذا كتير مهم. فنحن اليوم نرحب بكم في طاولة مستديرة تحت العنوان التقنيات النووية لغير أغراض توليد الطاقة لطلاب في الشرق الأوسط. ينظم هذا اللقاء كل من مؤسسة الطاقة الذرية حكومية روسية روساتوم، جامعة وطنية لأبحاث نووية، وجامعة أورال الفيدرالية، ومراكز ثقافية روسية في الأردن، في لبنان، في سوريا، وسفارة روسية في العراق. واليوم نحن سنتحدث معكم عن الاستخدام السلمي للطاقة الذرية واستعمالاتها المتنوعة في علم حديث، فضلا عن تحضير خبراء في مجال استخدام التقنيات النووية لأغراض لا تتعلق بتوليد طاقة. كما سنتحدث معكم عن الإنجازات الروسية في مجال نووي. فكمان مهم جدا لا تنسوا عشان الحكومة الروسية مددت تاريخ تقديم طلبية على ويب سايت study in Russia educationinrussia.com لطلاب الذين يحبون يشاركوا في اختيار تنافسي للحصول منح دراسية في روسيا. وكمان عندكم فرصة أن تختاروا هذه التخصصات النووية. لا أحب أن أحظ كثير من وقتكم، فالآن نحن سوف نتحدث مع ممثلي لجامعة روسيا حكومية لأبحاث النووية. وقبل ما نحن نتحدث معهم، نحن نتفرج الآن عن الفيديو عن الجامعة. فالآن بدي أقدم كلمة لطالبة دكتوراه شيرين غايت، من فضلك.
صباح الخير، أهلا وسهلا. أنا شيرين غايت من مصر، طالبة بالجامعة الوطنية للبحوث النووية ميفي. سوف أشرح الآن نبذة مختصرة عن المحاضرة التي ستقدمها ألا ودلوفا باللغة الإنجليزية، أستاذ دكتور في العلوم البيولوجية في الجامعة الوطنية للبحوث النووية ميفي، قسم الفيزياء والهندسة النووية. تقدم المحاضرة معلومات حول الوضع الحالي للفن في مجال التطبيقات غير المولدة للطاقة التي أصبحت أكثر وأكثر أهمية في حياتنا، ويمكن أن تقدم حلول مستدامة لعدد من التحديات التي يجب أن تواجهها الأجيال الحالية والمستقبلية للنظائر المشعة ومرافق التشعيع، استخدامات أساسية عبر قطاعات متعددة، بما في ذلك المنتجات الاستهلاكية والأغذية والزراعة والصناعة والطب والبحث العلمي والنقل والقضايا البيئية. في الزراعة وصناعة الأغذية يتم تطبيق تقنيات الإشعاع الآن لتحسين إنبات البذور وتسريع عمليات النمو في النباتات المزروعة وحيوانات المزارع، لإطالة العمر الافتراضي للفاكهة والخضروات. يتم استخدام التأثير المميت والمثبت للإشعاع ضد الآفات والبكتيريا المسببة للأمراض لمنع فقد المنتج وتحسين سلامة الأغذية. من بين طرق مكافحة الآفات تم الإشادة بتقنية الحشرة العقيمة لمزاياها الجيدة نظرا لانتقائها وفعاليتها الحصرية ضد أنواع الحشرات المستهدفة. يتم تحقيق استخدام الإشعاع والنظائر المشعة في الطب بشكل أساسي بطريقتين لتشخيص وعلاج الأمراض المختلفة. أولاً، وقبل كل شيء، ضد السرطان. سيتم توضيح المبادئ الأساسية لهذه التطبيقات في المحاضرة، وسيتم وصف وسائل زيادة الفعالية وتقليل الجرعات الإشعاعية للمريض، وكذلك سيتم وصف الطرق الرئيسية لإنتاج النظائر المشعة للأدوية. تشمل خدمات الإشعاع الأخرى للرعاية الصحية التعقيم الإشعاعي للأجهزة والمستلزمات الطبية كأكثر أداة لا تقدر بثمنها اليوم. يعد إنتاج المواد ذات الخصائص المعدلة بالإشعاع أحد التطبيقات المطلوبة بشدة. يزيد الربط المتقاطع للبوليميرات مع الإشعاعات عالية الطاقة من مقاومة المواد المنتجة لدرجات الحرارة المرتفعة والجهود العالية ومقاومة التآكل. تستخدم تقنية البرمجة الإشعاعية الآن في تطبيقات لا حصر لها، مثل المعالجة الإشعاعية للاطلاقات وتطعيم النجم عن الإشعاع والتكنولوجيا الحيوية. لا توجد حواجز أمام الإشعاع المعين، فهو يخترق كل مكان ويمكن استخدامه تقريبا في أي منطقة، مما يساعد البشر على حل أكثر المهام قسوة وشائعة. أنظمة التفتيش الحديثة لمنع الهجمات الإرهابية ونقل البضائع الممنوعة. طرق التحكم غير المدمرة التي لا تغير من سلامة وخصائص وجودة عمل المواد المختبرة. أجهزة قياس النظائر المشعة التي يمكن أن تعمل بدون إمدادات كهربائية، وهي مفيدة للغاية حيث تجعل الحرارة والضغط والمواد المسببة للتآكل أو النشاط الإشعاعي المكثف الحالة صعبة. هذه القائمة بعيدة من أن تكتمل، وبالتالي فإن تطبيقات غير المولدة للطاقة تنمو عددًا وكمية كل عام، وتنافس التقنيات التقليدية في الفعالية والأمان. وكذلك هندسة الطاقة النووية في مجموعة متنوعة من الخدمات والمزايا التجارية، تغطي المزيد والمزيد من المجالات والصناعات وفتح الطريق أمام الرفاهية الاقتصادية ومستوى المعيشة المرتفع. والآن سوف نبدأ محاضرة مع ألا أودالوفا.
Good morning or good afternoon, dear participants. Thank you very much for introduction, Shirin. Now I'm opening my presentation. Yeah. So today I hope to give you some review of modern art of state in the field of nuclear applications in non-power sphere. So first of all, let's think what are nuclear applications or nuclear technologies. Actually, they are based on nuclear reactions and products which are produced in these reactions. One of the most common products of such reactions are huge release of energy in the form of ionizing particles and also electromagnetic waves or photons. So the first idea was to use this energy. And the well-known in the world nuclear application is nuclear power engineering. Energy released in nuclear reactions is transferred into heat and into electricity. So actually, this is production of electricity. Today, a lot of countries are interested in nuclear power engineering. So over 30 countries operate nuclear power plants, and also many more countries are interested in constructing new power plants. And of course, this is a promising source of energy and electricity in future. But of course, this is not my topic today, because this is energetic application of nuclear technologies. There are also other interesting spheres of energetic but non-electrical applications. Here are some examples of them, and I think for our participants today, for countries of the Middle East, very interesting and sensitive point is water desalination. We all know that today we have a shortage of fresh water in the world. And today many countries had to do desalination. The most often used technologies are thermal distillation and reverse osmosis. They both require huge amounts of energy. And this energy can be actually produced not from electricity, how we do it today, but also from nuclear cogeneration, when desalinating plant works together with nuclear power plant. Here in this picture, you can see some example of such application. This is a town called, today it's called Aktau, and it is in Kazakhstan. But in Soviet Union times, it was a part of Soviet Union, and it was called Shevchenko. So you can see that this town is surrounded by the sea from all the sides. And this territory with a population of about 300,000 people have no supply of fresh water at all. So they must desalinate water. And nearly 30 years, it was done with the help of a nuclear power reactor, fast neutron reactor, BN350, which worked as a part of a large complex and also in cogeneration with desalination plant. This reactor provided several services for the town and for district. So it produced electricity, of course, fresh water, and heat, both for district heating and for industries in this territory. Other countries also have experience of water desalination, of nuclear desalination, and the most important experience may be in Japan. Today, water desalination with nuclear technologies is a very promising project for many, many countries. Non-electric applications can be also realized in other ways, for example, for heating, which is important for cold countries like Russia, or for cooling also, which is interesting for hot countries. Also, direct heat from nuclear reactions can be used in industry, and many types of industry, for example, metal production or paper production or chemical production industries. They all need a lot of heat. Today, we take electricity and convert it into heat, but we can do it better directly from nuclear heat. There are other examples. Of course, Russia is much proud with our nuclear icebreaker fleet, the only one in the world. And the last but not least is hopes to provide our future of humankind with new type of fuel, hydrogen fuel. But to produce hydrogen fuel, it's funny, but we still need energy, and it could be done through nuclear technologies. So from this short introduction, I wanted to help you to distinguish between energetic and non-energetic applications. So in energetic applications, we can exploit energy of nuclear reactions to produce electricity or for non-electric applications. But we can also do other things. And here we use interesting properties of ionizing radiations and radioactive materials. And these properties are very unusual and very interesting. Among them are ionizing ability. This is why ionizing radiation is called like this. Here are penetrating ability, it's fantastic property. And here are other properties, list of them, interesting phenomena of radioactive isotopes and so on. I'm going to show you some examples how we can do it today, what we know, what we already have done, what experience do we have in the world. And non-power applications, non-energetic applications are used today in many, many fields. Here is some list, and I hope to give you some explanations today in these fields, but this is not the complete list, of course. So let's start. First of all, agriculture and food production. Many people could be very surprised to hear that nuclear applications could be done in this field because many people believe that radiation is something very bad, dangerous, lethal. How can we do it in such a life science field? But we shall understand very well that effect always depends on the dose. This is not only about radiation. This is true about different types of impacts of substances. Take, for example, medicine. If you take a low dose of some drugs, you will be cured of disease. But if you take a lot of, you will be poisoned and you'll die. And the same with, I don't know, with some poisons, for example. You know, there is such a science, homeopathy, where very low doses of poisons are used to cure people. So the same as with radiation. Low doses can give us positive stimulating effect, while high doses and very high doses can be inhibitory and even lethal. And this is applied in the field of food production and agriculture. Main applications are stimulations of development and growth, and also inhibition of pests and bacteria. So let's look short at these applications. Stimulation with radiation technologies. Actually, stimulating effect of radiation is known from the very ancient times. And today in our applied field, we use it mostly to stimulate organisms, mostly plants, at early stages of development. So before sowing, seeds or other planting material like roots, sprouts, any types of planting material are irradiated in low doses. And this impact makes these organisms develop better. It pushes them to development. And so at the end, we can have better survival and germination of these plants. We can have higher harvest and even better taste and higher content of nutritives and products. This could be also applied for animals, and the same idea at first stages of development, organisms are stimulated and they do it better and with high speed. If we increase doses of radiation a bit, we can have inhibitory effect, and it can also be used for our benefits. The most known example is delay in sprouting. You see here example with potato, this picture with potato. And I think that everyone knows that this is a problem with potato, it germinates. And because of germination, humankind loses 50% of all potato and other root vegetables. This is a huge amount if we think about the whole planet. What we can do to stop it? Usually there are two ways, traditional ways, and this is cooling, but you can imagine that in your countries, in hot countries, it costs a lot. Electricity bills are high. And also we can use chemicals to damage these sprouts. These sprouts can be damaged with chemicals. You can also easily understand what are disadvantages of chemicals. They can do harm to human and the environment, and their production is costly and so on. And also in the case of other vegetables, of bulb vegetables like onion or garlic and so on, chemicals are not effective because the growing point is inside the bulb, in the very, very middle of the bulb, and chemicals can't reach there. But radiation can penetrate everything and can reach any location. So radiation technologies in this case are very effective. They are not expensive, and they provide great result. Also, inhibitory effect can be used to stop some processes or delay some processes in vegetative production. So, for example, to deliver tropical fruits and vegetables to other countries at long distances, this is difficult to keep them. And again, what we can do now? Today, we use a lot of chemicals to stop this ripening. But actually, the same can be reached with ionizing radiation, and it's done this way also. And it helps countries to export their perishable fruits to long distances. Next example, high doses can kill insects, which are pests of our products, food products. While I'm also sure that you know about the harm that pests can do to different types of cereals and dry products and flour and so on. A lot of products can be lost due to this harm. And here I must tell actually the same words, that traditional techniques with chemicals are not always effective. Insects can adapt to chemicals, so many of them survive and became more resistant to these chemicals. And so on, there are other disadvantages. But when we apply radiation technologies, we can eliminate absolutely all insects or with high efficiency. And at last, food irradiation. This is probably the most important today, and the most interest in the world in the field of food industry is devoted to this application. Why do we need to irradiate food? To clean it of bacteria, parasites, microorganisms, and so on. And here you can see examples of the most often used types of food irradiated. So these are different meat products, poultry and meat, and so on, fish and seafood, different types, and also species and other dry and powder products. I think that in the second lecture today, our lecture will give you more information about food irradiation. And now I'm only going to tell a few words, but this is actually very interesting and impressive application because it helps to prolong shelf life of these food products many times. So for example, if you have a piece of meat, put it on your table in your kitchen at room temperature. Next morning, it's impossible to eat, right? But if you previously pack it and irradiate in vacuum package, you can keep it at room temperature 7 or up to 10 days. And it will be the same in quality, in taste. It will be fresh and not harmful for a human being. It's also very convenient that we can irradiate already packed food products or partially cooked food products. This is very good for price formation. So this is really effective. Also, this type of application, food sterilization, could be applied not only for human food, but also for animal food. And we can also sterilize other things, for example, food package, and there could be a lot of other ideas. Now let's go on to next field of application. This is modern healthcare. And in this field, I think that you know, of course, about nuclear medicine. Today, this is very popular. And many people believe that nuclear medicine is our way forward, future of our medical applications. In medicine and healthcare, we can distinguish such groups of application as diagnostics, treatment, and also some additional services. Let's look through it. Probably you have experience of nuclear medicine, probably not. But well, most people know about this type of application. This is rentgenography or radiography. And this is one of the first applications of ionizing radiations, because the first application was done just in a few months after the discovery of X-rays in 1896. I hope you know the main principle. Radiation can penetrate through different tissues, and depending on their density, absorption will be different. So when we fix penetrated radiations, we can see such a snap, such an image. Over 100 years went since the first application, but today we still use radiography. We improved installations. We now deliver lower doses and we can get better images. And one of the most popular and known technique today is computed tomography. In the case of computed tomography, X-ray source is placed in this device, and this source rotates around the patient with high speed, taking pictures from different sites. So it takes a lot of pictures, a lot of images, which are uploaded to a computer, where they are used to construct 3D model of internal organs. So we can see very well what's going on inside an organism, and we can explore the whole organism or different parts. Today, this year, last year, when we have these problems with COVID pandemic in the world, computer tomography has helped a lot in revealing damage to lungs after coronavirus infection. Here are second popular type of diagnostics in nuclear medicine. This is called radionuclide diagnostic. And here we use specially designed substances called radiopharmaceuticals, which are actually a type of chemical molecules specially designed to go into intended place in organism, in targeted place in organism. And these chemical molecules serves like a bots for radionuclides. So they take these radionuclides and deliver them to necessary place. And radionuclides irradiate radiation during this. So they work like, I would say, observers. They look around and they give us information from inside an organism. The difference from rentgenography is that here we have internal radiation, while in the first type of diagnostic with X-ray surveys, we have external irradiation. And other good explanation here, it seems to me that these radionuclides inside an organism look like a fleet of such lamps illuminating everything inside an organism. There are again different approaches, different sophisticated methods in the field of radionuclide diagnostics, and one of the most advanced today is positron emission tomography. The idea here is the same. The very special thing is that here they use radionuclides with very short lives. So you see radionuclides which are used here have half lives of only few minutes. Why this is good? Because it means very low doses of irradiation for a patient. So they are introduced into body of human being, or here this is a mouse, as you see, and then irradiation of these radionuclides during positron electron annihilation is detected with detectors, and accuracy of this method is especially high. And very small tumors or some damages inside an organism could be revealed with a high precision. Well, if some disease is found in an organism, it must be cured. So for therapy, ionizing radiations are also used. Most of all, radiation is applied to treat cancer. Why is it so? Actually, it happens so that cancer cells, tumor cells, are especially sensitive to ionizing radiation. And so when we irradiate a tumor, cancer cells are killed with high efficiency, while healthy cells around are damaged much less. And to improve this and increase sensitivity of tumor cells and decrease sensitivity of healthy cells, different approaches are also developed in nuclear medicine. There are a lot of interesting things. Also, there are special approaches to decrease doses of radiation for a patient. This is also modern tendency to work in this direction. Let's look at some examples of therapy. Usually they're classified into three large groups. First is teletherapy. In this case, we use external irradiation of a patient or tumor, and a radiation source is located at a distance from a patient. There are a lot of such techniques. I'm going to show you only one example to illustrate it. This is a gamma knife. Gamma knife technology is used to cure brain cancers. You know, brain cancer, this is a type of cancer which is difficult to cure. And in traditional way, to do it, we need surgery. For this, a surgeon must open a scalp. This is very much invasive and heavy operation for a patient. The patient needs anesthesia, and then after operation, it's necessary to spend many months to recover after such therapy. In the case of gamma knife, this is fantastic, I would say. So what is done here? First of all, with the help of computer tomography, the exact place in the brain is found where a tumor is located. Then with the help of computer, a procedure is calculated, and the computer decides how many ionizing radiation sources to use. So in this device, there are about 200 of gamma ray sources, and they use them such a way that beams from these sources cross at that exact point where a tumor is located. So in this point, a very high dose of radiation is reached, and this tumor is just burnt out. All kills of tumor are killed. At the same time, other cells of brain are irradiated at very low dose, and this is not harmful. This operation is so safe that it could be recommended to pregnant women. And there is no need for anesthesia at all. And it takes just 10 minutes sometimes. Depends on the degree of this tumor development. And after the operation, the patient can stand up and go even to home. This is something like a fairy tale. Next application of nuclear technologies in nuclear medicine is called brachytherapy. In this case, radiation source is sealed and located very close to tumor cells. For example, in the case of skin cancer, there could be applications on the skin surface. Or it could be in the form of some capsules, it could be inserted directly into tumor. For example, this tool is used to cure a prostate cancer, very widespread in men population. And brachytherapy is so effective, very effective. Effectiveness is about 98%. This is very low invasive comparing to traditional surgery. And at last, the third type of application, this is radionuclide therapy. This is very similar to radionuclide diagnostics. Principle is the same. We use special radiopharmaceuticals bearing a radionuclide in these molecules. And they are delivered to necessary place. But in this case, you remember these lamps. In this case, the lamps are hot because we need now not only watch what is going on inside, but we need to kill these tumor cells. This is why more powerful special radionuclides are used here. Well, so in many of these applications, we need radionuclides or radioisotopes. It means that we need special facilities to produce these isotopes. There are several ways to do it. And mostly radioisotopes are produced in nuclear research reactors or in accelerators of charged particles. And here you can see some information about nuclear research reactors, because they are often a keystone of non-energetic applications in different countries. Because in such a reactor, we can do a lot of nice things. We can develop science, or we can study radiobiological and medical applications, or we can study and develop material science and so on. And of course, we can produce radioisotopes for medicine and for other applications. Mind that research reactors are not nuclear power plants. They are not intended for production of electricity at all. And they are very safe. And for example, in Moscow, inside Moscow, there are several such reactors. And one of them is in our university, just several kilometers from the Kremlin. Well, other important services of radiation technologies in healthcare is radiation sterilization. This is called the golden standard of sterilization in the world, because other types of sterilization, like with high temperature methods or with chemicals, have a lot of disadvantages, while radiation sterilization provides very high efficiency. This is cheap, this is very fast. And today we understand that we need a lot of materials sterilized with high efficiency. For example, you see the masks in our pandemic times. So, for example, in Rosatom, in a few days after the pandemic beginning, production of radiation sterilized masks was launched, and output reached 10 million masks a week very soon. Well, also other problems in healthcare could be resolved with radiation technologies. For example, cleaning of the water. You remember I talked about water desalination. This is different. This is to clean wastewaters. And you see traditional technologies are not always good, while with radiation, we can clean water of different types of contaminants, of biological and chemical nature and so on. It works well. And one more example, I like this application very much. This is called sterile insect technique, and it is used against pests. Pests could be dangerous both in agriculture and also for human health, because they could be vectors of different viruses, and they can be guilty of different diseases. What do they do here? So you see, larvae are irradiated, and these insects became they became sterile. They lose fertility. These sterile insects, usually males, because males are more sensitive to radiation, they are released into wild environment where they meet fertile females. They mate, but they have no progeny because the males are sterile. This is very smart technique because this is highly selective. Only targeted species is affected by this technology, and all other species have no harm from this technology. And the story of success of sterile insect technique is impressive. First application was done in United States against screwworm fly. this is a flesh-eating insect, and it caused a lot of harm. You can see that losses of economy were really huge. They first applied it at small island close to the coast of the United States. And in 7 days after this application, screwworm fly disappeared absolutely on this island. Later, they started to work on territories, first of territory of United States here. So this yellow color means the territory is cleaned of screwworm fly. Then they applied it to Mexico and later to the whole Central America. And up to now, so this is over 50 years, there is no screwworm fly in this large territory. Very impressive. Of course, it was used against other insects, for example, tsetse fly, which cause a lot of harm in African countries. This is Drosophila, or fruit fly, which damage fruit and vegetable production in many, many countries, and in Middle East also. And there are hopes to use it against mosquito, serving as a vector, as a carrier for different types of viruses. Next application is different material productions. I'll show just a couple of slides because of a shortage of time in my lecture. So a very famous example of radiation technologies and new materials applications is a production of cross-linked polymers. What does it mean? Cross-linked polymers, you can see, it means that we have additional bonds between molecules of this material. And these additional bonds are produced by ionizing radiation during this, its ionizing ability. And when we have these additional bonds, these cross links, it means that these materials became much more resistant and tolerant to different types of impacts. Because you see these molecules hold each other like these hands in this picture. Well, this technology is known previously. This is not a new one, but previously they used chemicals to do these additional bonds. And of course, chemicals are not very good. And with radiation technologies is much more effective, fast, cheaper, and so on and so forth. Applications are numerous. And they are already in our life, and we don't know, we have no idea that we use this in our everyday life. So see cables and wires, plumbing pipes and thermo-shrinkable films and materials, they are all produced through cross-linking with radiation. And also vulcanization, which used to be done with sulfur chemical approach, but nowadays the best results are gained with radiation vulcanization. And another type of new material, so-called graph polymerization. In this case, again with the help of radiation, to the main polymer carrier, we can attach additional molecules or atoms or substances, and we can actually attach any type of these substances which we want. And through this, we can obtain materials with any properties that we'd like. Today, it's used in many applications again, and most popular in biotechnological applications. For example, hydrogels. I don't know, maybe again you've had experience of applying hydrogels. These materials are appreciated and considered as a medicine of the future, because really we can do here anything that we'd like. you see, we can give such properties to this hydrogel as waterproof, absorption of secretion, breathable, and so on and so forth. Well, so it's produced with graph polymerization technology. Next field, and again, just a few examples, and this is measurements and devices. Very well developed technology, having a lot in common with previous examples. For example, non-destructive control, used in many fields, as you can see, in industry, in construction, and so on. And here again, we explore penetrating ability of radiation and different absorption in different types of materials. And through this technology, we can reveal different defects and damages inside of constructions. So these people who work with non-destructive control method, they say that they are doctors, but not for human being, but for large industrial constructions and pipes and reactors and bridges and so on. And this penetrating ability is also used in other types of devices, which are applied to measure width, flow, density, and so on. I hope it's clear from these pictures how it works. Yes, radiation penetrates and is absorbed in dependence on the material inside. And what is especially good with these applications that we can do it in places and situations where other measurement methods are impossible, in very aggressive media, at very high temperatures or pressures, in chemically aggressive media, and so on. Here are some examples. So we can measure width of metal, for example, or glass, or flow of gas and oil in pipes without any damage to them. Very smart application, the control of corrosion without destruction of this pipe. We can look through and understand how much of a corrosed material is there. And the next field, of course, it's science. In science, there are a lot of ideas. This is just, I know it's impossible to count. And I will give you just a few examples with radioisotopes because they have special properties. One of the properties is radioactive decay. So unstable atoms decay, and this process strictly follows the law of decay. So that at every moment of time, so at our moment of time, measuring the level of radioactive material in a sample, we can calculate with good precision at what period of time this material was formed. And this is used in dating, in radioisotopic dating, for example, with radiocarbon. Scientists date different archaeological findings dated thousands of years ago. Well, the method works, well, I'm afraid I don't have a lot of time to explain. So just using the law of radioactive decay, we can calculate the age of different findings, ancient findings. Simple and funny example is here. You know, this body was found in the middle of last century in one Danish village. It was in pretty good conditions, so that local police looked for a killer for a while. But then scientists applied radiocarbon dating and found that the age of this body is over 2,000 years. And with X-ray examinations, they could they looked through it and studied internal organs and found that the day before the death, this man ate cereals. because they were found rests of cereals. So you see such a precision and fantastic perspectives of these methods. Also, radioisotopic dating is used in other spheres, for example, to study underground waters, their age, the amount of these waters, and so on. And with the help of different natural radionuclides with different half-lives, we can study these underground waters and understand their formation and their behavior and our possibilities in exploiting these reservoirs. Well, also with radioisotopes, we can study different dynamical processes using them as colors. Here is some example showing how it works. So, chlorophyll production. Of course, you know that plants utilize water and carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. And you see oxygen can go from water, because we have oxygen in water molecule, and in carbon dioxide. And the question is, what is actually a source of oxygen? Experiment is very simple. So you see in the first experiment, we used unstable isotope of oxygen in a molecule of water. While in second experiment, carbon dioxide molecule is colored with this unstable element. I say colored because, of course, we can see it by eyes, but we can see it through special devices measuring radiations from this isotope. And so, guess where do we have oxygen? Oxygen is here. You see, oxygen is released from water, not from carbon dioxide. Probably this is a kind of discovery for some. And it illustrates how it works in many other applications, because we can actually study different processes with this isotopic labeling. Environmental processes, biological, medical processes, industrial, and so on and so forth. A lot of very interesting applications in many spheres of our life. And at last, social field, very far from nuclear industry and so on, but still here there are also a lot of examples of nuclear technologies applications. For example, see sterilization with radiation could be used not only in medicine or in food production, but also in art and World Heritage preservation. So this is Ramses II mummy, which was stored in the Cairo Museum several thousand of years. But last century, it was infected with bacteria and worms, and so it was in danger. The mummy was transported to France, to Institute of Human, where it was sterilized with gamma radiation. Again, charming story, because this mummy was even given an international passport to be transported to a foreign country. So it worked very effective. Second application, second example. You see, this is a art piece about the Vesuvian volcano eruption. The volcano erupted 2,000 years ago and buried the Pompeii town under ash. Again, I hope you know this story from Hollywood cinema also. Some people say that Pompeii people were punished for their misbehavior, but close to Pompeii there was another town called Herculaneum. And Herculaneum was a town of scientists and artists, and there was a beautiful library. You can believe, but now, 2,000 years ago, scientists could find manuscripts, papyruses under ash. They look like this, and of course we cannot unwrap it, but with the penetrating ability of radiation, we can look through and we can try to read what is written inside of these ancient manuscripts. Also, radiation, ionizing radiation can excite atoms. And through this technology, we can find exact chemical composition of different materials. Again, here is an example with restoration of this famous statue. To do restorations, they needed to know exact chemical composition of material. And in traditional way, it means to take a sample, to take a piece of this statue and explore it in laboratory. But with radiation, with this method, it could be done in non-destructive way, so they irradiated only north of this statue without any harm to this masterpiece. There are more precise methods for studying of composition of different materials, for example, neutron activation analysis. And well, one interesting example, this method is used a lot in art field. Here, it's case of historical mysteria. There were rumors that Isaac Newton was poisoned, and scientists studied the hair of this famous person with neutron activation analysis, and actually they could find enhanced amount of heavy metals in his hair. You can see, for example, mercury. Actually, it doesn't matter that he was poisoned. Probably he just worked a lot with heavy metals, but still this is a very precise method. And we can find not only chemical composition, we can find origin of different types of materials with this neutron activation analysis. This is the last, my example, how to find stolen things when they look like each other. So the sand, beautiful sand from this beach was stolen. And you know, sand everywhere looks very similar. It's impossible to prove that it was exactly from this beach in Jamaica. But nuclear technologies helps us to get isotopic fingerprints of different materials and find exactly the place where it was originated. So I hope it was interesting, and I hope that you found a lot of useful things for your mind. And well, nuclear technologies today penetrate through all fields of our life. They could be used in very everyday applications. And people believe that in nearest future, they will play even more role in our lives. So probably they are also your future career. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'll be pleased if you have questions.
Большое спасибо, профессор Алла Александровна, за это интересное погружение в специальность. Будем надеяться, что наши абитуриенты все поняли, им было интересно, и они задумаются на тему, какую специальность выбрать в будущем. И, возможно, атомные специальности это будут одни из них. Мы тогда вернемся, наверное, в конце уже докладов к вопросам, если они будут. Сейчас то же самое скажу по-арабски. Шукран джазилен, профессор Алла Александровна. Шукран للبرزنتيشن ممتع. نحن عرفنا كثير عن الاستخدام طاقة ذرية، استخدام سلمية فغير في مجال طاقة. فأظن حد منكم عندما تختار تخصص اختصاص مستقبلي سوف تختار هذا التخصص. يعني في ختام برنامج تبعتنا نحن نسأل بعض الأسئلة كيف ممكن تختاروا أي جامعات، بس هذا نرجع لهذه الأسئلة في نهاية البرنامج. شكرا جزيلا مرة ثانية. فالآن نحن بدنا نقدم كلمة لجامعة أورال الفيدرالية، موجود في منطقة تاني روسيا، يعني قريب لجبال أورال في جزء عصبي من روسيا. وقبل ما نتحدث مع ممثلي الجامعة، نحن نتفرج الآن على فيديو صغير عن هذه الجامعة الفيدرالية. فالآن أنا أرحب طالب دكتوراه في جامعة أورال الفيدرالية مصطفى.
مرحبا بكم جميعا. السلام عليكم. أنا مصطفى حاصل على الدكتوراه من جامعة الأورال الفيدرالية، والآن في دراسات ما بعد الدكتوراه من قسم الفيزياء التجريبية بمعهد الفيزياء والتكنولوجيا جامعة الأورال الفيدرالية. في البداية بالنيابة عن جامعة الأورال الفيدرالية اسمحوا لي أن أنا أرحب بكل المشاركين في الندوة من الشرق الأوسط والدول العربية. جامعة الأورال الفيدرالية موجودة في مدينة كاترينبورغ، وهي تعتبر من أكبر جامعات فيدرالية تجمع بين التعليم الأساسي والتطبيقي العلمي للمعرفة، وهي واحدة من أفضل المراكز العلمية في روسيا، والتي تجري أبحاث في العلوم الطبيعية والتقنية والتكنولوجية، وبالإضافة للعلوم الاجتماعية والإنسانية والاقتصادية أيضا. الجامعة بها حوالي 13 معهد تقدم حوالي 460 برنامج في المستويات المختلفة لطلبة الماجستير وطلبة البكالوريوس والدكتوراه والدراسات ما بعد الدكتوراه. حوالي إجمالي عدد الطلاب في جامعة الأورال الفيدرالية يتجاوز 35,000 طالب. النهاردة إن شاء الله الدكتور أليجري بوخن من قسم الفيزياء التجريبية هيقدم لنا عرض عن استخدام التكنولوجيا الإشعاعية في التعقيم. والعرض هينقسم إلى أساسيات تفاعل الإشعاع مع المادة، تطبيقات غير توليد الطاقة لمعالجة المواد، وتستخدم ظاهرة الإشعاع الإلكتروني. وهنقدم إن شاء الله المركز التعقيم الإشعاعي بجامعة الأورال بقسم الفيزياء التجريبية. وعشان كده في البداية قبل بداية المحاضرة من الدكتور أليج روبوخن هنحب نرحب بمدير معهد الفيزياء والتكنولوجيا دكتور فلاديمير يوريفيتش إيفانوف. هو دلوقتي موجود في مركز الإشعاع الخاص بقسم الفيزياء التجريبية بمعهد الفيزياء والتكنولوجيا. هيقدم لنا مقدمة بسيطة عن المعهد. تفضل دكتور فلاديمير يوريفيتش إيفانوف.
Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I want to wish previous speaker Mustafa a happy birthday. He is a brilliant investigator and really specialist in radiation technology. So, меня видно, слышно?
Да.
Okay. Secondly, our Ural Federal University is the biggest university on the board between Europe and Asia. Develops a civil radiation technology during 60 years. We organized 2 innovation centers in our Institute of the Physics and Technology, the Center of Radiation Sterilization and the Cyclotron Nuclear Medicine Center. Today, I greet you from the control room of the Radiation Sterilization Complex. So, you can see Mustafa. You can see whole panorama. See panorama?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is
yes,
a complex whole. Input room, the input production and output production, so conveyor to transit the box with the medical equipment into the irradiation zone. So we now have service work, and you can see a control panel of the complex. There you can see a spectrometer for the dose control and the personnel of center, and last our accelerator. This is electron line accelerator up to energy of 10 mega eV. And so I translate my works, and I ask Oleg Rybukhin to discuss the whole process in our center in detail. Okay, thank you.
منوتكا بعد ما شفنا من الدكتور ايفانوف دلوقتي غرفة التحكم بالمعجل الخطي الإلكتروني الموجود بقسم الفيزياء التجريبية بجامعة الأورال، دلوقتي دكتور أليج ربوخن هيقدم لنا التفصيل بتاع شرح عملية التعقيم اللي بتتم في هذا المركز. دكتور أليج ربوخن موجنا.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, Vladimir, for short information about our university, about Radiation Sterilization Center. So now I'm sharing my information by my presentation. So I present here Ural Federal University and Experimental Physics Department and Radiation Sterilization Center, and I would like to give you some information about non-power application of different kinds of irradiation, but mainly I will be focused on the implementation of electron beam for the procedure of radiation sterilization. So I would like to say some words about our university too. So I'm showing the map of our country, and you can see that our university is practically in the central part of most population of our country, and it placed on the main ways from the east to the west. So a lot of industrial goods are going through our city, So we can have the possibility to take part in the production of these goods, in the processing of these goods, and realizing of different technologies, including nuclear technologies. So our university, Federal University, was formed in 2010 when Classical University and Technical University were united to Ural Federal University. So as a part of our university, the Institute of Physics and Technology, Vladimir Ivanov said some words about this institute. So in frame of this institute, we realize different nuclear technologies. We prepare some students in the field of nuclear energy and technologies, and we have some practical application of non-power implementation of irradiation. So the basic education program, as I told a little bit later, nuclear physics and technologies, and the main specific of our education is development of nuclear and radiation technologies and training for nuclear students for nuclear industry, and manufacturing some kind of facilities that is implemented in, for example, radiation control, radiation activation analysis, and some other. So here is a plan of my presentations. I will focus mainly on the basics of radiation action on matter to give an answer on a question why we can utilize radiation for industrial applications. The second one part of my presentation, I think, will repeat information of Alla Udalova. I have to say thank you for your presentation, because it was very detailed presentation about non-power application. Practically my slides will repeat slides of Alla, and only some compliments I will make during this part of presentation. And after that, in the third part of presentation, I will focus on real application of real non-power application of radiation utilizing in the frame of Radiation Sterilization Center of our University of Institute of Physics and Technology, that based on the E-beam accelerator. So let's start from some basics of radiation action on matter. So during this part of presentation, I hope you will understand why we can use irradiation for different applications. What is the advantage of ionizing radiation? So I think that at secondary school and maybe in initial education in institutes, you had an information about different types of irradiation that can be realized by nuclei of atom. So you know that different matters that we can see in surrounding nature consist of atoms, and atoms consist of nucleus in the central part of atom, and electrons that are moving on the orbits of this nuclei. So for some kind of chemical elements, we have the specific of the possibility of radiation emission. So there is a process of radiation decay, and during this process, the nuclear can emit an alpha particles, gamma irradiation, or beta particles. If we will see the structure of atom, in this case, when we observe the relaxation of orbital electrons, in this moment we can observe the X-ray emission. So different types of irradiation can be emitted by unstable nucleus. And for example, here you can see the chemical element of cobalt-60 that emit gamma irradiation, and some other nucleus can emit alpha particles, beta particles, and so on. So another one sources of this kind of particles, not radionuclides, but some physical installations. It is an accelerators of charged particles, or it can be a reactor installation that can emit neutron fluxes of different densities, or it can be charged particle accelerators that can emit alpha particles, protons, and other nucleus of different chemical elements, and so on. So mainly we can divide radiation sources on two parts. It's radiation nuclides and radiation installation. So after that, usually that is a question that stay for the scientist and for the applications of radiation, how this radiation can interact with different kind of matters. For example, paper, plastic, water, concrete, steel, and lead for different kind of radiations. And in this picture, you can see that the smallest range, mainly charged particles such as alpha particles and protons, have bigger range, have beta particles, and we can irradiate with the help of these particles some kind of plastics. Much bigger range have X-ray in water and different kind of solid materials. And the biggest range have the gamma irradiation with the large energies in the range of from 1 to 10 MeV. So it has the biggest range in the materials with the lowest density. So after investigation of principles and of basics of radiation action with matter, there were some conclusions that have been made by scientists. And speaking about it, we can conclude that the main action of irradiation is producing of secondary electrons in the structure of atom. So different kind of irradiation passing through the materials can exit electrons, orbital electrons in atom. That's why we can observe some secondary free electrons or secondary exited electrons. So the matter can change its energy conditions. So we can observe an exited atoms, and after this excitation, the different process on the level of atom, so physical process. And after that, if we change energy conditions of atom, that can lead to the changing of charge properties of the atom, and it can lead to changing of ways of chemical interaction between atoms of different chemical components. So after radiation, we can start a different process in changing of physics of condition of materials, in changing of in chemical conditions of molecules, if we have one, and we start process in molecules that are in the can be the part of biological objects. So some biological process can be started by irradiation. And if we focus it on the biological objects, so we can analyze how different kind of irradiation can act on the components of the biological cell. So of course we know that cell consists of chemical elements, and they are grouped in the DNA molecules and chromosomes, and after that the cell is forming. So during the irradiation, speaking about gamma radiation or beta radiation, so it is the irradiation with the smallest size, we can speak that the irradiation by gamma quants or beta particles can lead to destroying of chemical bonds between atoms that are the parts of DNA molecule. So when we destroy a DNA molecule, it have a property to renovate, so they restore these bonds, but it can be realized during one action of gamma quant. If we take in higher density of gamma radiation, in this case, the number of destroying of chemical bonds will be so large that DNA molecule will not be able to restore itself. And in this case, this large number of destroying can lead to the death of DNA molecule, and after that we can observe the destroying of chromosome and destroying of the cell of the body. So with the accumulation of the dose of irradiation, the dose of irradiation is the main term that using by scientists, by in the field of scientific researchers and in the field of different application. So if we speak about implementation of radiation, we have to speak about those that we have delivered to the different products, including biological products. So, and here is the scale of different absorbed doses. So the main term of implementation of irradiation is absorbed dose, and it measured in the values of gray. So 1 gray of absorbed dose, it means that the material is absorbed 1 joule of energy per 1 kilogram of material. So, and here you can observe on this scale what dose, what absorbed dose can correspond to any application of this irradiation. So the classical application and the Alaudaloa have spoke about it. It's a classical medical X-ray imaging, for example, 0.2 to 2 milligray. Another one effects is stochastic effects of human. So when the dose, accumulating dose, is exceed some kind of limits for different organs in human body, some stochastic effects can start. It can lead to cancer diseases and other diseases. So if we go far to the doses from 4 to 10 gray, here we can observe some effects that can lead to inhibition of growing process, or another one, it's accelerating of growing process in different kind of foods. If we go into 1 kilogray doses, we can realize the technology of insect eradication. Its dose is about 500 grays. At some deterministic effects we can observe. After that, going far to doses about 10 kilograys, we can use this radiation for radiation disinfection of different kind of materials. After that, doses 25 kilogray can be realized in sterilization procedure. And the largest doses are about 100 kilograys and 1,000 of kilograys. These doses can be used for radiation modification of different materials, for starting different chemical process on the surface or in the volume of matter, That's why this process led to forming new properties of different matters. So the second one part of my presentation is non-power application for processing of materials. And here, this part will be a little bit short because Alla spoke about these technologies, and I will repeat and give an additional comments to these applications. So here you can see the picture again with the scale of doses for implementation of irradiation. So doses lower than 1 kilogram are used in seed procedures, so sterilization of different insects in the processing of food for preventing of different kind of contamination by insects, by spores, by some kind of mold, for example, and so on. If we go to the range of 1 to 10 kilogram, so here we can use irradiation for preservation, for decontamination, starting from the doses from 11 to 35 kilogram. Here is a process of radiation sterilization and processing of different surface, the details that can be placed in the human body. And going to the doses more than 35 kilogram, here is different applications with polymer modification, for example, flue gas treatment, wastewater treatment, and one of them is using in jewelry. It is the coloration of some stones, some jewelry stones. So here is an example of materials for radiation sterilization. Some of them are irradiated in our center, and here you can see the surgery clothes, the down part of slide, blood test tubes, for example, some drugs that can be processed by irradiation, some situ materials, for example, catgut, you can see, syringes, and cetera materials. So all of them can be irradiated by gamma radiation or electron beams. So here is an example of food irradiation. It's spices and herbs, some kind of berries, different kinds of meat, different kinds of seeds, and etc. production can be irradiated. And the procedure of irradiation you can see on the picture in the down part of this slide. So here is an example of implementation of gamma radiation. So you can see here around source of gamma radiation. Usually for these purposes, cobalt 60 is used with the gamma quants with energy of 1 MeV. So around of this source, you can observe a conveyor in the form of carousel. So for radiation, this conveyor is moving with a different speed, and this type of irradiation provide the homogeneous distribution of absorbed dose. Because if we speak about the quality of irradiation, so when we realize this process, we have to deliver the same dose in the same point of the box that we irradiate, the same point of the container with different kind of materials that we irradiate. So our company we are responsible for the delivered absorbed dose when we irradiate food or irradiate some other materials. Another one application is polymer modification. So you have seen these pictures at previous presentation. It's used in tires production when we irradiate different parts of tires to make them more sustainable during their utilizing in the car. So we can form polymers production, so different polymers materials that are used in different industrial applications. And the procedure of cross-linking, it allows for us to create a stable material for different kind of temperatures, stable for some environmental factors as a temperature, as a pressure, as a chemical action, vapor action, and so on and so on. So here is the implementation of radiation for the culture heritage preservation and the different kind of these materials. You can see here it's wood sculptures. This is an ancient papers and ancient textile materials, some paintings and some fossil remains. So you can use radiation for preserve of this kind of material through the damaging of molds, of spores, of fungi, and different materials that destroy this kind of states of arts. So this technology allows to save the states of arts for future generations. And different technologies of treatment of toxic elements treatments. So it's a flue gas purification during irradiation, wastewater treatment, and sludge hygienization. So during this procedure, usually irradiation used for destroy of toxic compounds that are inside of flue gas and water treatments and wastewaters and another one wasts. And now I will focus on our technology of e-beam application. It's used for radiation sterilization of healthcare products and for processing of polymer materials. A few words about our center. The program and the creation of this center was started in 2010 and realized during 4 years till to 2014. And here you can see some pictures of constructing of some walls and some bunkers for our accelerator. Enter to our center, and at the down photos you can see a linear e-beam accelerator, conveyor structure, and some control parameter control facility and facility for cooling of irradiator. And Vladimir Ivanov have showed the real picture of working center with flighting lamps of signalization and so on. So after reconstruction, we installed the accelerator and the center started in 2015. So we can see the final picture of our accelerator before starting, final picture for conveyor that can realize velocities with in the range of 0.6 to 4 meters per minute. And we use this accelerator and our center for research and development activity. It's mainly radiation modification of polymers and solids. We use it for studying of behavior of different biological materials under the action of e-beam. We study different processes that are going in polymer materials and in solid materials, for example, semiconductors. So we use this accelerator for radiation sterilization procedure. It allows for us to irradiate about 7,000 cubic meters of different healthcare materials per year. And of course, this accelerator used by us for education process, because our organization, our university is education organization. That's why we need to attract students for the practical work, for the diploma works, and for some scientific researchers. So if you will come to us for education at different bachelor programs or magister programs, you can take part in real work, in real production of, or in real application, implementation of radiation facility. So here is some characteristics of our accelerator. Practically, it's a line tube. Accelerator is a line tube with some vacuum system, and the system that allows to make a scan of E-beam. So we irradiate with electron beam energy from 8 to 10 MeV. The current of a beam is 1 milliampere, and the power of our accelerator is 10 kilowatts. And the scanning width is about 400 millimeters. So realizing irradiation, we perform with using of conveyor. Here you can see that conveyor has 36 pellets with size and realize velocities from 0.6 to 4 MeV. And here you can see materials that we irradiate. Mainly it is surgery clothes of different formats that used by medicals during surgery operations. It can be clothes, it can be drapes, it can be masks, or different sets of materials for surgery. And you can see here the main value of sterility dose. So when we irradiate this kind of material, we should deliver the dose about 15 to 17.6 kilograms. So here you can see the materials, healthcare materials in detail. It's a catgut material, it's a surgery material, it's a blood test tubes, it's alcohol wipes, some serological pipettes, and under the pictures you can see sterility doses that we should deliver to our production. So after this procedure of irradiation, this production will be sterile production. So of course this process is realized according to the international standards, and the international standards that describe the procedure of radiation sterilization is ISO standard 11137. So in our facility we have a quality management system that describe all the procedures of this radiation sterilization. So during this procedure, we realized the stage of delivering of production and unloading of production from delivering car, and storaging of this production in the area of our facility. So after storaging, we start the procedure of irradiation. So here in the picture, we can see how the box with medical products goes under the beam. And you can see that this beam going from this window, and this beam is looking like a scanning beam. So it's going from the central part of accelerator to the end parts of accelerator. So this can have a frequency about 4 times per second, 4 Hertz. So with this frequency, we irradiate the box with healthcare materials. So after this irradiation, we need to be sure that in each point of the volume of the box, we will have the same value of the absorbed dose. So to make our procedure work quality, yes, we need to deliver the same dose in the each point of this box. So another one production of our center is polymer tubes that irradiate for cross-linkings, and after that they use for industrial properties. And another one production is packaging for juice and wine. It's polymer packaging, and we use doses about from 15 to 20 kilograms to provide disinfection of this packaging. So when we put wine or juice in this packaging, the period of lifetime of this product became much more than we use it in non-irradiated packaging. So for the procedures that realize control of quality control of radiation sterilization. So we're starting from the first procedure. It's unloading of products and storaging in the area of our enterprise. Usually we irradiate about 1 or 2 batches of the boxes. Its amount is 200 to 500 boxes. After that, so we have to control boxes on some kind of round packaging. So you can see here an example of round packaging of boxes. So when the amount of products is too much in this box, in this case, we cannot guarantee that the absorbed dose will be the same in each point of this box. So these boxes we are not irradiated and send them back to the manufacturer. The same position about damaged box. So we need to control, do we have in a batch damaged boxes? And if we observe these boxes, so we send them to the manufacturer to the round packaging boxes. So we need to control the presence of irradiation indicator. So this is a material that can indicate that irradiation was performed, and our personnel that realized loading of product on a conveyor should observe was the indicator irradiated or not. So in the beginning, this indicator has a red color, and after irradiation, it should be green. Should be of green color. So here you can see how the storaging is going. So a batch of boxes, storage in area. After that, we need to check different auxiliary system of our accelerator and auxiliary systems. For example, checking of vacuum pumps. So after that, we have to start a cooling system of accelerator. After that, we start a heating procedure of klystron. After that, we need to check conveyor speeds, conveyor velocities, to be sure that it realizes established velocities for our procedure. Starting off, after that, we start acceleration process. After that, we need to measure of beam parameters by dosimeters and starting sterilization. So here you can see an example of these control procedures for vacuum. pumps, yes, from the left picture, heating system, cooling system, and vacuum system for vacuum pumps. So here is a facility for cooling system. Here is again a conveyor system. So we start the conveyor, check velocity of conveyor, and establish velocity that need to be used for procedure of irradiation sterilization of this kind of product. So if we irradiate, for example, clothes, we have one velocity. If we irradiate blood test tubes, we need to establish another one velocity for our conveyor. So after that, we are checking the scanning widths, we checking the current of our e-beam, and we checking the energy of this beam. So all of these procedures are performed by facility themselves, but we need to check the energy by, additionally, we have to check it by the different dosimetric systems. So we need to test a facility, how it performs the energy establishing. So we additionally perform the procedure of energy measuring by dosimetry systems. Of course, all of this data that we check during irradiation is saved by facility. And in every 2 seconds, we can analyze the information about conveyor velocity, the information about e-beam current, information about e-beam energy, and some parameters of klystron, of vacuum system, of cooling system, and so on, so on. So the window consists of about 25 values. The table consists 25 values of different parameters. So the saving of these parameters during irradiation allow us to be sure that we deliver the same absorbed dose to our production every 2 seconds. So through controlling of this parameter, we guarantee the quality of our irradiation. And a few words about dosimetric system. So for measuring of energy and for measuring of absorbed dose of our beam, we use RISO colorimeters. This is a special colorimetric dosimeter system that allows to measure doses in the range from 3 to 40 kilograms. So before starting irradiation, we should to check, do we have the needed range of absorbed dose or not. So we put this dosimeter to the conveyor. It goes through the irradiation, pass through the e-beam, and after that, with using of multimeter, with using of resistance, so it's measure a changing of temperature of polystyrol colorimeter. So this value of changing, of resistance changing, allow us to calculate absorbed dose. So this dosimeter system have a traceability to European standard of absorbed dose that is placed in National Physics Laboratory in Great Britain. So after starting of irradiation, we load the production to conveyor. Here you can see it. And procedure of irradiation is started. So the established parameters are controlled during irradiation. So we use a scheme of double site irradiation. So when production goes one circle at conveyor, after that, the operator turn box to the opposite side, so 180 degrees, and we irradiate production from the second side. Its procedure should be realized in this way because we need to deliver or need to we have to provide a uniform distribution of absorbed dose in the volume of the box. And another one dosimetric system is Russian dosimetry system used for control, routine control of absorbed dose. It's based on the film dosimeters, on the film matter that is covered by phenazine coating, and by the standard ISO 11137 standard. It is a requirement to put in every 3 box in the batch to put routine control dosimeter on the box in the position, in the special position on the box to be sure and to be control the absorbed dose on the surface of the irradiated box. So this surface dose is connected with absorbed dose in a volume of the box by mathematical equations. And when we have measure absorbed dose in routine dosimeter, we can restore the absorbed dose in the volume of the box. So this dosimeter shows us that we are not lower or upper of established limits of absorbed dose for this kind of production. So here is an additional control of radiation. So besides of control of electron beam parameters, we need to control irradiation by additional dosimeters that are placed on the irradiated boxes. So after irradiation, you can see here boxes are stored in the another part of our enterprise, because the non-irradiated production and irradiated production should be stored in the different parts of facility, not to be mixed to each other. And you can see here that indicators become of green color after radiation. So after radiation, we need to control of damaged box during irradiation. And of course, we need to prepare some documentation. We name it, we call it as a protocol of radiation sterilization, where different parameters of E-beam are presented, parameters of dose ranges for healthcare products are presented, and the kind of medical products, of course, is listed in the protocol. So the operator of procedure and the chief of the shift at our facility should sign this protocol, and he is responsible for this procedure during his shift. Oh, so here is the end of presentation. Thank you for your listening, and I would like to say thank you for Mustafa and Vladimir for companions of my presentation, and I ready to ask to your questions.
Большое спасибо за презентацию, было очень интересно. Я скажу несколько слов буквально на русском языке, потом на арабском. Я думаю, что тема полностью раскрыта, тема новая, сложная, и у нашей аудитории нет особо вопросов. Был один вопрос можно ли лечить коронавирус с использованием таких технологий или нет. Есть такие разработки. Вот. А в общем-то других вопросов не было. У меня, наверное, будет вопрос к обоим докладчикам. Можете вы, пожалуйста, рассказать, как называются специальности в университетах, уровни подготовки и несколько слов, наверное, об университетах, в которых можно изучать эти специальности. Вот слова для наших кандидатов, чтобы они могли правильно выбрать в системе, в том числе, когда будут подавать на квоту, идти в вузы. Я сейчас то же самое скажу по-арабски. Спасибо вам большое за вашу презентацию, было очень интересно. شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور أوليغ ريابухин على البرزنتيشن، وكثير استفدنا من معلومات وعرفنا يعني تقريبا كل شيء عن استخدام التقنيات النووية، فكيف ممكن نحن نستفيد من هذه التكنولوجيات. فعندي سؤال لجميع المشاركين في المؤتمر. فإذا طالب أجنبي يحب يختار هذا التخصص، يعني تعليم نووي في روسيا، ما هي اختصاصات ومستويات تعليمية وجامعات في روسيا؟ أين هو ممكن يدرس هذا التخصص؟ Спасибо большое. Если можно по-английски, кто готов ответить?
Okay, let me start. So about specialties and education programs in our university. So our university is called National Research Nuclear University, MIFI, or which stands for Moscow Engineering Physics Institute. And we had headquarters in Moscow and also have, if I'm not mistaken, 15 branches. The largest branch is in Obninsk, so I'm personally located in Obninsk, for example, Obninsk Institute for Nuclear Power Engineering. And in the university, we have a huge number of professions and specialties and education programs. And the best way for you is to check it through a site Study in Russia. If we talk about free quotas, Rosatom quotas, there you must look for nuclear education, and specialties are called usually nuclear physics and engineering, nuclear physics and thermo energetics, not sure exactly. And we have different levels of course education in our university. So we have programs for bachelor, master, and PhD students. And we have a lot of foreign students now. About 80 countries are presented in our university. And we have also programs of education realized in English language in different levels, again, in bachelor, master, and PhD level. For those international students who would like to study in English, they can straightly go to the first course of programs. If you're not sure of your English or you prefer to study in Russian, you first can study 1 year in pre-faculty, where you learn Russian and also improve your knowledge in basic subjects like math, physics, and some special subjects. Well, so would you like to hear something else?
Большое спасибо за ответ.
I would add about myself, as I'm presenting today. So in Obninsk branch of our university, I am a supervisor of several programs of bachelor level, it's nuclear physics and technologies, and bachelor programs, radiation safety in Russian, and radiation technologies and life science in English. And also master programs, radioecology and radiation safety, both in Russian and in English, and also a PhD program about measurements of environmental subjects, in short. So, but we have a lot of programs. That's not, we must prepare special presentations and to show all of them.
Thank you very much. الآن بدي أسأل زملائي في الشرق الأوسط، وبدي أقدم كلمة لدكتور نيكولاي سوخوف، مدير مركز ثقافي روسي في دمشق، وكمان ممكن توجد بعض الأسئلة في سوريا. شكرا.
السلام عليكم للجميع، وشكرا لتقديم المعلومات المفيدة جدا ومهمة جدا للجماهير طلبة المستقبلين من سوريا الذين إن شاء الله يختاروا مثل هذه الاختصاصات خاصة باستعمال الطاقة الذرية في مختلف المجالات للاقتصاد. ورغم أثار الحرب والأزمة الاقتصادية في سوريا، هناك الطلب الشديد لمثل هذه الاختصاصات لإعادة بناء اقتصاد سوريا على الأسس الجديدة، على أسس العلم المعاصر. ونحن سننتشر هذه المعلومات اللي تحصلنا اليوم أثناء هذه الندوة أولا لجهات معنية سورية رسمية، وكذلك لطلبة الذين نحن نأمل سيختاروا هذه المهن وهذه الاختصاصات للدراسة والتطبيق. По-русски в двух словах то, что я сказал сейчас для арабоязычной аудитории, что я считаю, что это очень полезная и нужная встреча, семинар, который дает, во-первых, представление потенциальным студентам из Сирии, из Ближнего Востока о том, как может применяться ядерная энергетика и, вернее, даже сказать, наука, связанная так или иначе с расщеплением ядра, да, с радиацией в мирных целях и конкретно в народном хозяйстве. Сирия возрождается, и сейчас стоит вопрос о восстановлении экономики, и важно, чтобы это восстановление происходило уже на более современных основах. И надо сказать, что сирийские власти понимают это, и есть запрос на то, чтобы мы в России учили студентов именно таким специальностям, учили на самом высоком уровне, с тем, чтобы они уже вернувшись сюда могли развивать свою экономику национальную. Вот, спасибо вам всем.
شكرا جزيلا دكتور نيكولاي. فإذا ما عندكم أسئلة يا مشاهدين الأعزاء على فيسبوك، ويعني حتى الآن وصلت فقط كلمات شكر بدون أسئلة. بدي أشكر جزيلا الشكر كل متحدثين اليوم، فممثلي لجامعة وطنية للأبحاث النووية وجامعة أورال الفيدرالية. شكرا جزيلا لكم على هذه المحاضرة ممتعة ومفيدة. فأتمنى لجميع الطلاب في الشرق الأوسط، ونحن عملنا هذا البرنامج اليوم لطلاب من لبنان، من سوريا، من الأردن، من العراق، وكمان لكل دول الشرق الأوسط من يحب يتفرج على هذا البرنامج. أتمنى عليكم أن تختاروا اختصاصاتكم يعني منطقيا، وتفكروا ليس للسوق عمل حالي، تفكروا عن السوق عمل مستقبلي. يعني عندما تتخرجوا من الجامعة بعد 5-6 سنوات لازم تفكروا ما هي اختصاصات تكون مطلوبة في سوق العلم في المنطقة وفي الخارج. وبدي أذكركم تستطيعوا تعملوا تسجيل على موقع educationinrussia.com وتختاروا هذه التخصصات النووية على هذا الموقع الإلكتروني، وإن شاء الله تحصلوا منح دراسية وتكملوا دراسة في روسيا، وتكون هذه الدراسة بداية حياتكم ناجحة وحياة ناجحة وتطوير اقتصاد لوطنكم العربي. فشكرا جزيلا مرة ثانية. والآن أنا أحكي كلمات شكر باللغة الروسية لمشاركين من روسيا. فبعدين نحن نتفرج على فيديو صغير اختصاصات نووية أو ذرية في روسيا، وتوجد في فيديو كمان برزنتيشن بسيط مع أسامي الجامعات يوجد فيها التعليم نووي. شكرا جزيلا فأتمنى للجميع بنجاح وبصحة. ويعني الآن نحن عملنا أول مشروع على فيسبوك، مشروع إقليمي بالمشاركة أكثر من مركز ثقافي روسي، وصارت مشروع كتير ناجحة. وشكرا جزيلا لشركة روساتом الروسية لهذه الفكرة. Уважаемые коллеги, хочу поблагодарить всех за ваши доклады, за ваши презентации, за участие в сегодняшней программе. Я уверен, что она была полезна для наших ближневосточных кандидатов, и я всегда им говорю, что вы должны задумываться о том, каким будет рынок труда через 5 лет. А с данными специальностями вы будете актуальны как специалисты и через 10, через 20, и через 30 лет. Поэтому прошу всегда задуматься о том, что есть другие специальности, кроме стоматологии, лечебного дела, но это уже касается Ливана, что есть и атомная медицина, другие интересные специальности. Я рассказал вам о том, что продолжается регистрация на сайте для участия в квотном отборе, что у них есть еще возможность подать документы. Вот, поэтому я считаю, что сегодняшняя презентация была очень полезна для всех, и мы с вами прощаемся. Большое спасибо. И в конце покажем небольшое видео Росатома о ядерных специальностях и университетах, в которых их преподают, где можно учиться нашим абитуриентам с Ближнего Востока. Большое всем спасибо за ваше выступление еще раз и всего доброго.
Climate change is here. Climate change is happening. We are well into the 6th mass extinction event.
More than 1,000 people being rescued just in the early morning hours of Sunday.
Millions of people are likely to suffer worsening food and water shortages.
Climate change.
Climate change.
Climate change.
We chose nuclear power that has maximum effects in all spheres. Local industry boost, GDP growth, job creation. What is more, nuclear power plants have no emissions. My country successfully walked all the way to be ready to build our first nuclear power plant.
Rosatom Corporation has developed centers for nuclear science and technology. They bring industry enhancement, safety culture development, and build up nuclear competencies to reach scientific and technological advancement.
Nuclear Medicine Center and an irradiation facility can also be parts of the center.
Technologies for a better and much more sustainable future. To be a part of the new. To contribute to the future. To be part of a new adventure that can inevitably contribute to the future. To learn and know more about the technology. The Russian nuclear education. To be independent. To learn and know new things every day. To set and define a goal. To dream. To invent. To innovate. To be successful. To be dynamic. To continue propelling oneself. To be needed. To be a leader. To see the world without stopping. To seize all available opportunities. To enjoy every day. To never put enough one's life till tomorrow, because there is no time like the present. To live a life free from procrastination. To get closer to the truth. To become part of a multinational team. To make your choice. the Russian nuclear education.